Welcome back again. Good morning. Let's continue with the topic the Indian Constitution and its key features. So, in this topic, we will read about what was the circumstances faced by the drafting committees. The members of the Constituent Assembly had a huge task before them. The country was made up of several different communities who spoke different languages, belonged to a different religions, and had a distinct cultures. Also, when the constitution was being written, India was going through a considerable ups and downs. The partition of the country into India and Pakistan was there, and some of the princely states remained undecided about their future. They wanted to be continue with their states, and also the socio-economic condition of the large group mass of people appeared. So all this circumstances was in front of this members of the Constituent Assembly. But with all these circumstances, all of these issues played on the minds of the member of the Constituent Assembly, and they drafted the constitution. They come out with this all circumstances, and they have given us a very powerful constitution, which is a lengthiest written constitution. So let's now start with the features of constitution one by one. What are the key features of constitution? Starting with the first feature, that is the federalism. Our constitution sets up a federal system of government. This means that in which there are more than one level of government, and all the powers is been divided into the different levels, so that there should be a smooth functioning of the government. So there is a three level of government: central level, state level, and the and the village level, which is taken care by the Panchayati Raj. So this is the federalism, that is the division of government according to which they perform their duties. So it is difficult to run the administration of the whole country from one center. That is why, beside the government at the national level, we have a government at the state level and the local level. Our constitution demarcates the power of the central and the state government into the different some power, like center is having the power of taking care of home foreign affairs, home departments. State is having their own labels, like they have to take care of the education, health of the people, water supply. All these things come under the state. So dividing the powers, it makes the government to run smoothly. Now the next key features of our constitution is parliamentary form of government. In this also, what we find in the parliamentary form of government, the legislature in the center is called the parliament or the Sansad. India has a parliamentary form of government. This means that the parliament is supreme and it represents the people of the country. Our constitution guarantees universal adult suffrage. This term is very clear to you all. What do you mean by a universal adult suffrage? That is the right to vote. Okay, that is the people of India have a direct role in electing their representative, and these representatives are accountable to the people. So parliamentary form of government, the different tiers of government that you just read about consist of representatives who are elected by the people. Now Constitution of India guarantees universal adult suffrage for all citizens, which is of 18 years, and we are applying this by going for the voting. Now the third feature is separation of powers. What is the third feature? Is the separation of power. As our constitution say, there are the three organs of the government. There are the three organs of the government, that is the legislature, executive, and the judiciary. The legislature consists of our elected representative who make the laws. The executive implement those laws, and the judiciary role is to take care of the laws which is assigned by our executive and legislature, that it is followed strictly or not. So it take care by the judiciary in the form of courts. The judiciary refers to the system of court that interprets the law. The constitution not only defines the power of each organ, it demarcates the responsibility of each. Like if legislature is a law making body, who take care of the executing those laws, so that is the executive, and who will take care of those laws, that is the judiciary. So in this way, these organs of government used to work in so proper manner that there is a smooth functioning of the government run in our country. Now, in order to prevent the misuse of power by any one branch of the state, the Constitution says that each of these organs should exercise different power. Through this, each organ acts as a check on the other organs of the state, and this ensures the balanced power between all three. So, this is called separation of power. The next key feature of our Constitution is the fundamental rights. So, that is the fundamental rights. Our Constitution guarantees certain basic rights to every citizen of India that are called fundamental rights. The rights are essential not only to run a democratic government but also for an individual citizen to develop his or her personality. They are fundamental to every citizen's life, and therefore they are called fundamental rights because they are फंडामेंटल टू एवरी सिटीजन. ये सब सिटीजन पे लागू है, इसीलिए इसको हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं, फंडामेंटल राइट्स. दीज राइट्स प्रोटेक्ट सिटीजन्स अगेंस्ट आर्बिट्री and absolute exercise of power by the government. So our constitution has given the 6 such fundamental rights which we will deal one by one. The first one is, which is given in your book, that is right to equality. The name itself suggests about that right to equality means having a equal status, means every people in India must be treated equally, whether they belong from another religion, caste or sex. They will have their equal status. According to our citizen, all citizens will be equally protected by the laws of the country. That is, all persons are equal before the law. The states cannot discriminate against a citizen on the basis of their race, caste, sex, religion or place of birth. The practice of untouchability has been abolished. What is untouchability? You all know that in 1828 it was been abolished. Every citizen has access to all public places. Previously, in our society, the lower caste people was not allowed to use the public places, but with the democracy, we find that there is right to equality as our fundamental right, which is given to all. Now, all citizens can apply for government jobs. This is the first fundamental right, which is right to equality. Moving towards the second fundamental right, that is right to freedom. Our constitution has given the right to freedom to every citizen. Under this right, what are the rights here? A citizen has the right to freedom of speech, expression. They have the right to form any kind of association. They can move freely anywhere in the country, any part of the country, and right to practice any profession, occupation or business. So that is right to freedom. Next fundamental right is right against exploitation. Poverty makes people helpless. You know that poverty makes people helpless. The rich take advantage of the poor helplessness, and poor people are often compelled to work without payment. This is called forced labor or beggar. So the right against exploitation prohibits the trafficking, forced labor and the working of children who are under 14 years of age. So right against exploitation is a very important right given to the citizen, so that there should be no human traffic, there should be no exploitation of workers, laborers, and also the child who is below for under the 14 years of age. So this right against exploitation makes our country, those people should not be suffered from such type of exploitation. People like labor, children below 14 years of age, females, so they must be given the full rights to work according to their capability, according to their